Hi, I'm Ryan Williams, the creator of Backwoods, here with a setup and playthrough video for you. Let's jump in and show you how to set up the game on the table. First off, you'll want to give every player a pioneer mat and 7 yellow cubes, 1 blue cube, 1 green cube, 1 red cube, 1 purple cube, and 1 die. Next, place the daily actions mat out with the owl meeple on the explore phase. The game begins in the explore phase. After this, place the cabin region card out with a pioneer meeple and a general marker on it. The cabin region counts as a cleared region towards winning the game in one of the objectives called Mountain Man. After this, look through the region deck and find the fort card. Put it aside, and then discard the top 12 regions from the region deck. Give it a shuffle, and then grab the fort and put it on the bottom of the deck. During this time, you should also place out all other tokens sorted by their type, and grab each deck type and lay the decks out on the table. It is highly recommended that for the resource tokens, you make a row that can go in the forest bag, such as wood, vine, water, obsidian, and curative plant, and make a separate row for the ones that are not able to be added to the forest bag, such as bone, hide chunks, and food. Finally, discard 1 copy of each event card within the event deck with these numbers 8, 11, 12, and 22, then shuffle the event deck. Take 3 water, 3 vine, 3 wood, 3 mosquitoes, and 3 wasps, and place them inside the forest bag. Give the bag a shake, and now you'll be ready when you go to forage in the forest bag. Once you've completed setup, your table should look something like this. You are now ready to begin your adventure into the backwoods.
Hi everyone, this is Ryan with Most High Design bringing you a setup and a playthrough video of Backwoods Cooperative Survival for 1 to 4 players. In order to win, you need to not only reach the fort, but in the default mode, the freedom mode, you also need to achieve 2 of the 4 objectives that are here in the center. Each one's emblem there represents a different achievement. One objective would be the native trader, where you're able to trade 2 of these obsidian with an indigenous person that you might come across in a region. And if by doing so you will establish trade with the indigenous people and earn the native trader objective. There's also the mountain man objective, where you are able to, if you're able to clear 7 regions, like this region here starts cleared, you can see by that token. If you're able to clear 7, then you'll achieve that because you've explored and gathered data on the vicinity. The other one would be herbalist, where if you're able to get 2 of these curative herbs out of the bag, first you have to build it, so you build the bag by putting them in there, and then if you're able to draw them, which is easier said than done because there's nasty stuff in there too, like mosquitoes and wasps, then you'll earn the herbalist title if you're able to turn those in at the fort when you reach the fort. And the final one is fur trader. So this is kind of straight across, but if you're able to obtain furs either by traps or in combat with creatures, then by the time you reach the fort, if you're able to supply them with 3 furs, you'll earn that objective. So we're kind of just going to hop into setting up your character. And you have all of the decks before you, the supplies that can go in the bag, like this row. This row cannot go in the bag, and that is symbolized on these tokens by these black dots. And so those 3, the meat, the bones, and the hide, cannot go in the bag. You can get those by traps or defeating creatures in combat, but this row can go in the bag. And we've got some general markers over here for marking item quantities or these objectives when they're completed or when areas are cleared. They're just kind of used to mark a number of things. You have recon tokens, which we'll get into when we kind of cover potential outcomes for a scouting check. You can gain one. We've got some sweet health tokens for monsters, or creatures rather. we've got our pioneers and our traits to select from. So I'm going to go ahead and just have a look at the different pioneers and choose one to play with. They each get a bonus stat to start with that correlates with these bonuses here. So that's something to consider when you're selecting, and they also have an asymmetrical ability and a little bit of lore about their character. So I think I'll roll with Coachetta. I like the fact that she has scouting and a bonus to fitness. She can re-roll a scout check if she fails it. So I think that that's a pretty good option. So we're just going to go ahead and go with Coachetta. We also get a trait for our pioneer. There's just a lot of customization and character builds that you can do. This one, Surveyor, and there's like just tons of different options here, will allow me to draw a token from the forest bag whenever I succeed a scout check. I do tend to like that because it synergizes with Cochetta's stat bonus to the fitness ability, and it also is synergizing with her being able to re-roll a scout check. So I'll probably be able to pass those scout checks and draw from the bag. So we're gonna go ahead and go with that. One of the other parts of character creation is to also choose between melee and ranged. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go melee today, which gives you some details about that role and what it can do. And then there's a battles helper on the back for the stats in combat and the steps. And there's also a phase description that's really nicely laid out here for the overall detail about what you do in each phase. So that's a nice reference. And then obviously if you need like a really detailed description of what an ability does or how something interacts, the manual is here as well. So we'll just go ahead and do melee today. Put it on down. Got my handy dice ready to hopefully roll 10s. Of course, on a 10-sided dice, that's actually a 0. And then we're going to set up these sweet cubes over here. Everyone, has to have wood cubes or else it's just not a cool game. So we've got, unless you're playing Terraforming Mars, their little metallic cubes are fun. I'm going to set my health to 8. That's the starting health. You start at 1 level of hypothermia in, because the rapids you came out of were cold, and now you are cold. And you're gonna not obviously be poisoned or diseased, so we'll set those aside. When you actually become poisoned or diseased, you'll slot it in there to signify that. And we'll cover what actually happens there if you're poisoned or diseased later. And then all these other stats are going to, by default, start at 0. And you're going to get a variety of different points depending to put into these abilities, just depending on player count. So in a 1-player game, you are able to get 6 ability points to invest, and in a 3-player game, it's the same. For a 2 or 4-player game, to make it scale well, you only get 4 points to put in. So I'll have 6 points to invest, which gives me a little bit of flexibility about my build, but I'm all alone, so hopefully I don't die. We're going to set the opportunity to 4 because that's where it starts at. Insight will be at 0. Faith will also start at 0. I guess we start a bit agnostic, but who knows? I guess we can see how this thing develops for Coachetta as she goes along. And then you have your skills and abilities. She starts with an ability rank in fitness, so I'm going to go ahead and increase that by 1. And then I'm going to be able to choose my build from there with those 6 points. So I'm going to probably just go up to 4, investing 3 points in fitness plus her bonus for that ability. And then that leaves me with 3 more points, which in solo, I think it's probably a good idea to have some combat prowess as well. So with this, what I'm getting, I'll just kind of lift the board up here, is I'm getting 2 scout checks, which are dealing with this token over here, which I'll fetch. I'm getting 1 heal check, because you always get 1 of each to start with, even at rank 0. And I'm getting 2 dodge bonuses as a passive skill, which will prevent 2 damage coming to me during the events or battles that I face. I'm also getting 2 bonus damage in combat. This is a passive called lethality. I always deal 1 damage when I hit in combat, even if I have 0 rank, but now I will deal an additional 2 for a total of 3 if I hit in combat. And so that's just kind of the build I'm going here. So I'm gonna lay this back down, and then we're gonna take a look at items. Now, if you are going to be starting out as melee, you're gonna start with a club. So we're gonna equip her with the club to start out with, which you always add this weapon rating in combat or battles to whatever you roll, and you also add your combat rank in a battle to see if you hit the enemy, and then you deal your damage. So this gives you a whopping 0, but it beats fighting them barehanded. That's not a pun, but I do love the grizzlies and black bears in the game. We also have the opportunity to start with either a flintlock pistol or a lot of these sweet companions that we could choose from. I'm probably going to favor the pistol just being alone, because I'm a lone ranger. I don't even want any canine friends with me. There's also 1 feline friend to be fair to the felines and all the cat people out there. So this flintlock pistol will allow me to scare creatures ending the battle when used, and I gain no loot for that, but it stops me from dying to like a bear early on if I just have terrible luck and draw an event that leads me to a nice jaws of doom in the mouth of a grizzly. I can shoot this off and survive. So I'm going to roll with that instead of a animal companion. And what else? Well, there's just a lot of other goodies that we can craft along the way with resources as we get them. So we'll just get into that a little bit later. And that's going to really be about it for setup. You should have everything displayed as is. And we're starting over here in the cabin, and that's a cleared area. A cleared area means that it's one that I cannot forage in, and there's no encounter that happens there either. So it kind of forces you to move forward because there's no events and there's no foraging so you can't just stay in one place, because you need to move and continue to forage in order to survive, in order to eat and drink and avoid damage. So we'll take my checks here. I get 2 scout checks. I get a blurry camera. I get a resistance check, and I get a heal check. So we'll just lay those there, and then as I use them, you flip them to the other side and it will show that it's been used for the day. And there's also a little icon here that shows you what skill it's based, or what ability you use, like the rank to add the bonus for determining if you succeeded in that skill. In Backwoods, you always need an 8 or a higher, no matter what you're dealing with, in order to succeed. So you'd roll the 10-sided dice, for example. Let's say it wasn't a 2. Let's say it was this juicy 5. And I was taking a scout check. I'd flip that token over and I would add my rank to it in fitness, the ability that governs that check. And so I would have a 5 plus a 4, which is a 9. So I succeed. I just need an 8. Even in abilities and skills that I have 0 in, like if I wanted to use the healing skill, I can still luck out because I could roll an 8, a 9, or a 10 on a 10-sided dice. So I have a 30% chance, even with no training, to pull that off just with ingenuity. So you also start with 1 food. It's not totally hopeless. At least you had something in your pack, some ration to tide you over. And we're just gonna get rolling here. So we start in the explore phase. During the explore phase, you're able to take your scout checks. If you have multiple, then you can go ahead and use multiple. And you're also able to take movements. So we're starting over here in the cabin. I'm going to move these dogs out of the way because we're not taking them along today. We also have the event deck here, so you just give that a shuffle and draw from the bottom, not the top, so that way you can't see what was ahead. It just kind of becomes a surprise. Since they're dual-sided, there's no hiding the top one, so we draw from the bottom. So we'll put that out there. And I'm going to take my scout check. Roll the dice. I got a whopping 2. Now she has a special ability. So I'm going to go ahead and re-roll because it allows once per day for a re-roll of a scout check. Now that's a 10. A 0 is a 10 on a 10-sided dice. I'm not cheating, I swear. So that allows me to either get one of these recon tokens or to reveal a region. I'm going to choose to reveal a region to kind of just cover what that does. So I look at the top card, and then I choose an orthogonal direction that I would like to play that, north, south, east, or west. I'm going to say we're going south with that. Now that's one option open to me when I take my move. The way that movement works is that I can take up to 2 moves, but only 1 move into an uncleared area. So if I'm moving from this area into an uncleared area, my movement stops. If this area was also cleared, let's just pretend, then I could move here and also take a second move in a different direction. But that's not the case. So if I move here, my movement stops. So I'm going to consider my options. I could also just go a different direction and do what's called going in blind. So if I just shot over in this direction over here, then I would be able to just draw a card from the top, flip it over, and I would be forced to go that direction no matter what kind of fate awaits me there. So just kind of scouting, revealing an area gives you more idea of your options available to you. You can either know ahead of time if you succeed the scout check, or you can go in blind if you suck at scouting. So there's always an option to move. You don't have to succeed a scout check to move, but it just gives you information about what you're doing before you do it. Pardon my reach. So I'm going to just go ahead and move this a little bit closer. It's annoying. And I have my second scout check. So I'm going to take my second scout check now. Hey, just rolling crazy good. That's a 9 plus my 4 in fitness. So that's a total of 13. Obviously, that's going to be more than 8. In this case, I'm going to take a recon token so that I can kind of go over with you what that does. So a recon token is nice. It has 3 different functions. The first is that if I draw a mosquito or a wasp, which the bag starts with 3 mosquitoes and 3 wasps, 3 water, 3 vine, 3 wood, which we showed you previously. So there's 6 nasties in here, 3 wasps, 3 mosquitoes, that will, the wasp will poison you if you don't pass a resistance check, and the disease, the mosquitoes will disease you if you don't pass a resistance check. So the nice thing about this is if I draw a mosquito or a wasp, I can discard one of these and use it, and just ignore the mosquito or the wasp, and it just goes away out, and it remains outside the bag for the rest of the game. Wasps and mosquitoes always remain outside the bag for the rest of the game. And goods that you draw will go into just like your little reservoir of goods that you have here for crafting purposes. And then once you use them for crafting, they'll go back to the bank, and then you can add them back to the bag and keep drawing them. So that's one use. The other use is that there are some creatures in this battle deck, like stealthy owls or cougars, that will deal stealthy damage to you if you don't use one of these. Because this signifies that you did reconnaissance in the area and knew, those creatures were lurking. And so it kind of like takes away the sting of their surprise. So it'll prevent the 2 damage that they would do to you through stealthy, if you have one of these to use when those creatures spring out on you. The other use is that if you have 2 of these, you can actually look at the back of an event card and see the results, because a lot of these events have two choices, an A or a B, and it's very nice to be able to look at what's going to happen there, and know that, oh, option B is going to lead me into a battle with a cougar, and so you'll be able to make your decision with information if you use two of them. So that's the use of the recon tokens, and you can obtain those by passing a scout check. So your options for passing a scout check are to reveal a region or to go ahead and get one of those recon tokens. I'm going to get one of the recon tokens for the second scout check I passed, since I already have some information about the areas I would want to head into. I'm going to go ahead and now head into this area, because a lot of these regions have, I'll just use a region that we're not using for this game, because previously in setup we showed that you discard a number of regions, and you're only playing with some of them. So you can see here that there's a number of different effects that regions have. Some of them are good, like having a native present, which allows you to, they're very friendly and hospitable, so they'll allow you to dwell in one of their residences and not have to suffer hypothermia. And you can also trade with them to get that native trader objective. Some of these provide you free water for each party member, and some of them will harm you, like a windstorm will lower your opportunity by 2, so you'll be able to do less in that day for like harvesting or gaining faith. And some of these are like mountainous, so it requires you to drink a water, or else you're going to take 2 damage because you're dehydrated climbing a mountain. Or you can drink the water. Each player can drink the water and that they may have on hand to prevent that. And then there's treacherous, which you have to pass a fitness check with this ability by rolling the 10-sided dice and adding your fitness score, and get an 8 or higher, or else you take 1 damage. So there's just a lot of good and bad things that can happen. It's nice to have an idea. This one in particular doesn't have any region effect, so I'm not going to mind too much just to fly in there. So here we are. Can't really see the meeple, but he's there. And we're just in the woods. So that kind of concludes the explore phase. Now we're going to go into foraging. In foraging, we're able to draw from the bag. Ooh, I almost forgot. Cochetta has the surveyor spec, which allows me to draw a token whenever I succeed a scout check, and there is a chance to get some goodies out of here. I don't know if I want to or not. You can choose if you want to do it or not, but there's just some nasties in here. I guess we're just going to see what happens. Oh, okay, I drew a wasp. So now I need to roll my resistance check. Resistance, anytime you would increase your hypothermia or become poisoned or diseased, you can use a resistance check, and if you pass it, then that effect is negated. Now my other option is I have this recon token, and I could burn it to go ahead and just disregard this wasp. So I think first I'll try my resistance check, and if it doesn't work, then I'll use the recon. So that's a 3 plus 0 vitality, which governs the resistance skill. So that's not going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just burn this and disregard this wasp. And I'm going to draw one more time for that other scout check that I had passed. You've got to be kidding me. This thing's broken. Well, that's another wasp, and I already used my resistance check, so guess what? She's poisoned. That does not bode well. When you're poisoned, I guess it gives me an opportunity to explain what poison does. You can no longer gain health or heal by any means, whether it's an item or a heal check, while you're poisoned. So that's really not a good way to start. Good thing is I got 2 of those wasps out of the bag. So now we're in the foraging phase. I have 4 opportunity. I'm going to use 2 of that opportunity to add 1 water and 1 wood. to the bag. It costs 1 opportunity point for each token you want to add to the bag. So I spent 2 and I added 2. If I want to draw from the bag, I can spend 2 and draw from the bag. Previously, I got them for free because she gets a free draw whenever she passes a scout check. Now I could pay and draw 1 more, but honestly, I think I'd rather just rely on her draw from this and use the opportunity elsewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and increase my faith by 1. You can spend 2 opportunity to increase faith by 1 according to the card. So I'll increase faith by 1. Faith has a number of uses. The Knight card has like spiritual attacks and demonic entities messing with you. And a lot of times, if your faith level is high enough, on the card it'll say if your faith is 3 or higher or 2 or higher, ignore this card. So it helps in that regard. And then you can also, in addition, spend faith to do different miracles, such as 2 faith. If you spend it, you get to re-roll any skill check. -3 faith, you can look at the result of an event before choosing. -4, you get to provide each pioneer with a food ration. 6, you get to banish a possessed creature and just end the battle. You don't get any loot, but you don't have to fight a crazy possessed grizzly bear or whatever you might come across. And then 7's just a straight up ability to raise a dead player back to life, because in Backwoods, you lose the game if any one pioneer dies. So being able to counteract that defeat is pretty amazing. But that it takes a lot of investment to get that high of faith level. And you could, alternatively, if you don't want to do faith, either thematically for your character or whatever, you could just use that to opportunity to be drawing from the bag and getting amazing things to craft great items. So we're gonna go ahead and move on then from foraging to crafting and healing. Now previously I got poisoned, and the only remedy for me is to try to pass a healing check. Now poison does not allow me to gain health while I'm poisoned, but a heal check, the 3 effects it can have is curing a poison for you or another pioneer. So if you pass it, you can cure someone else or you can cure yourself. And then you can also cure your disease. And the other effect, which I can't do right now because I'm poisoned, is to gain 2 health. So I'm going to take this check and hope for the best. That's a 1. Okay, looks like I'm going to remain poisoned. Crafting. Well, I didn't draw any materials. I just drew wasps, so I don't have anything to craft currently. We're going to go into an event and see what awaits us. Now I'm going to just draw the bottom card. And it says, let me focus it. It says, you explore this region, you find a small ravine with an old rickety bridge. Howls chill your blood. You peer into the fog and see a wolf pack running to cross the bridge to get to you. Cut the bridge, requires a stone axe or a bone knife, which I don't have. Prepare to fight or climb some nearby trees. Now, I do have a flintlock pistol that has 1 round that it starts with, and it only starts with 1 round. So I could just go ahead and scare them off with that, but then I don't have that pistol for the rest of the game, which would kind of suck. I think I'm gonna just climb up some nearby trees and see what happens next. So we're gonna take a look at that. It says the wolves growl and wander off, but now the land itself threatens you. Fetch event number 6. So some of these cards will start battles and have you fetch a battle card and get into a battle, and some of them will have you fetch even additional events to continue the story. And so we're going to go ahead and fetch that. I believe it said event number 6. Yes. There's number 6. The numbers are on the top there. So you just turn the deck sideways and it's easy to flip through and find what you're looking for. So let's have a look at what's befallen us now. It's been foggy all day, but now you smell smoke. Looking around, you see an orange glow. A forest fire is spreading. Knowing how to act quickly will spare your lungs from the searing smoke. Make a survival check. If you fail, take 4 damage. Pioneers with vigorous or hardy traits succeed the check pretty much automatically. So each of these events at the end of the event and battle phase will net you whatever insight is listed on the card, and insight's essentially experience. So you can level up once you reach 4, and I'll show you these things as it happens. So I need to pass a survival check, or I'm going to take some damage. I'm going to go ahead and roll. My survival is at a whopping 0. Rolled a 7. That's so close. If I had 1 point, I would have passed it. But being as it is, normally it says that I would take 4 damage. But thankfully, I do have 2 dodging. So the dodging passive will allow me to negate 2 damage from events or battles. So I usually would take 4. I'm only going to take 2. Down to 6. But I do gain 3 insight from that event and 3 insight from the first event that I went through with the wolves. So I got a total of 6 insight. So the way that works is I would go to 4, reset to 0, and then gain the extra 2 that was left over since I gained 6 towards my next level. And I just leveled up from going to 4. And so I'm going to now increase the rank of one of these. That's a tough call. Since I'm poisoned and I really need to be able to heal myself, it's tempting to just put 1 in survival. Now I reached the star, that means that I'm going to get a bonus opportunity. You get 4 every night when you sleep, but now I would get 5 the next day. The heart on the here means that you gain X amount of hearts, where X is wherever you've reached. So if you've reached this, you get 1 life, 2 life, 3 life, health rather, at twilight. So every night you would regenerate 1, 2, or 3 health, depending on how many you've reached. And so I'm going to just do that and call it a day with the events and battles. I'm going to just discard these and move on to the eating and drinking. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to forage for water. I only got food here. I'm going to use my food. And if you can't eat, you lose 2 life. If you can't drink, you also lose 2 life. So you could lose a total of 4 if you didn't have either. I had food, but I didn't have water, so I'm going to lose 2. And then we're going to go into the night phase and see what else awaits us there. The night phase, I need to just draw a card straight off the deck. And this one is Cacophony. So it says that you could prevent it if you had faith 2 or higher. I have only 1 faith right now. The sound of crickets, the wind in the trees serves to put you fast asleep. Yet as night rolls on, hoots and howls with cackles crescendo out of the darkness. The eerie disturbance has disheartened you. Gain 2 less opportunity than usual this twilight phase. So as I mentioned before, I usually get 4 opportunity. Now I'm going to get 2 less. So I'm going to throw that in the discard and take that into account. Now it's the twilight step, which is when you refresh your skill checks. You also suffer any hypothermia that you might be going through. In my case, it's really just been a terrible day for Coachetta on her first venture into the backwoods, because her hypothermia increases. I don't have a wood to build a fire, and I'm not lodging in some place that keeps me warm. So I'm going to go ahead and lose 2 health from that. I'm almost dead. And this is definitely the way it can go many times in the backwoods, especially when you're alone. I'm going to gain the normal 5 I would, the 4 plus the 1 from my bonus, but then I'm going to lose 2 from that night card that made me lose 2 opportunity. And then I'm going to place a cleared region token here on the region that I'm currently in. And those are the steps of the twilight phase. And now I'm ready to explore again. All right, we're in the explore phase of a fresh day. I'm going to go ahead and flip over this scout check to use it and try to scout. I got a 7 plus 4, so that's more than enough. I succeeded in scouting, so Surveyor triggers my trait. We got a water. That's nice. Definitely could use that for not dying from dehydration. And we will go ahead and, well, first of all, what should I get for that? I think I'll just take a recon token for that successful scout check, and we'll try our second scout check. That doesn't seem to have rolled. 2 plus 4 is not enough. I'll use Cochetta's geography ability to reroll it. 4 plus 4 is 8. Okay. So I draw from the bag again because I succeeded the scout check. So my surveyor trait kicks in. And we got another water. Okay. Lots of water. For the successful effect of the scout check, I will scout ahead. This is just a nice neutral region that doesn't have anything bad or good about it, so we'll just go there. And we'll forage. I'll add a wood to the bag and draw from the bag. Okay, wood, good. We really need some wood for fire so we don't die of hypothermia. We're gonna move to the craft and heal phase. I'm definitely gonna remember right now to use that wood and craft said fire because really not gonna live without it. Okay, there's that. All right, I'm gonna try to heal now. Flip the token over to the use side. I am also going to spend insight because besides gaining insight and reaching 4 to gain a level, I can spend insight and use it, what we call. Then I can get a +2 for every insight that I spend on my checks. So I really need to make this heal check. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 insight, get a +4, and a +1 from the survival ability for a total of +5. And I got a 6 plus 5, so that's more than enough. And since the healing can heal poison or disease or 2 health, which is not an option for me because I'm poisoned, I need to get this poison off of me first. So get that cured, and that's going to be it for craft and heal. So let's just go to the event. The afternoon sun shines upon you and you feel a renewed sense of hope. You hop down a series of boulders that form a crude path, but it seems you are treading on the dwelling of creatures residing in the rocks. Rattles fill the air with warning. Fetch a rattlesnake card, a battle begins. Okay. We're fighting some rattlesnakes, I suppose. Oh. Rattlesnakes have 2 health, and they deal 2 damage. They are worth 2 food if you kill them, and they are venomous, so if they damage you, you have to take a resistance check or you're going to become poisoned, which I just got over, so I hope not to be poisoned again. Okay, so the way combat works is you set out the health for the creature. You fetch whatever card from the battle's deck that the event tells you to, like we did. A 1 and 2 player game, when you fight a creature, you're going to use this number here in the parentheses, folks, the lesser number, because you only have 1 or 2 people. But in a 3 or 4 player game, you're going to be fighting them at twice the health. They'll do the same damage to every player no matter what. So that's just kind of an example of why the balancing is different. So today I'm just flying solo, and then the creature attacks you first. The only thing that you can do prior to that is use bolas, but we don't have bolas right now, so I skipped that step. And now the creature attacks and it targets each pioneer. After that, we're going to, if a melee character wants to, and there's a ranged pioneer in the party, the melee pioneer can step in front of the blow for a ranged pioneer, and the ranged pioneer won't take any damage, but the melee character will take an additional 2 damage for doing that. That's detailed on the melee card. So anyway, for the purposes of this battle, that's irrelevant because we're alone. Then we're going to receive any damage and the afflictions from the powers that the creatures have. And then we're going to roll our attack check. And if we hit, then we're going to apply damage and any effects we have to the creature. And then the battle ends normally. The only time that the battle would continue is if the creature has the possessed power or the protective power. So in general, for the vast majority of encounters, it's just one round of battle. You trade blows, and if you kill the creature, great, you get its loot. And if you don't kill the creature, then it just runs away. So it's going to hit us right now because it attacks first. It's going to hit us for 2. However, I have 2 dodging, which prevents 2 damage in events and battles. I'm not going to take any damage. I dodge its strike, and I therefore will avoid its venomous power because it didn't do damage to me. And now I'm going to roll and see if I can kill this thing. I do have a +3 to combat. My weapon gives me +0, so I have a +3 to this roll, and we're going to see if we can kill the rattlesnake. Yes. Okay. 6 plus 3 is 9, so I automatically deal 1 damage for hitting it, and then I get a plus and a plus, so I'm doing 3 damage. It only has 2 life. This thing's toast. Or roasted, rather, I guess, because we're going to eat it. So it's dead. Feels good to just throw those cards away when you kill them. And we're going to gain 2 food, because that's what the loot symbol said on the card. And we're also going to gain the experience from this event, which says we gain 2 insight. So we gain 2 insight, and that'll conclude the event and battle. Now we need to eat and drink. Thankfully we have that covered today, so we'll eat and drink and we won't lose any life. And we'll go into the night phase and really pray we don't come across anything terrifyingly bad because I'm at 2 life. Ooh, what is this? Phantasm. Let's get this a little closer. Discard if anyone has faith 6 or higher. I certainly don't. You dream of being at home with your family. You turn as someone calls your name, but when you look, the scene has now changed to the backwoods. Now skeletons wearing the uniform of the expedition shamble towards you. Dazed, you can't tell if you're still dreaming. Fetch a skeleton crew card. A battle begins. Oh, great. Okay, so I guess we're fighting a skeleton crew now that is attacking us in the middle of the night in these haunted woods. Really was not prepared for that. A lot of different foes that you can come across. Skeleton crew. Let's see what we've got on our hands here. It's possessed, so the battle doesn't end until it dies or we die. And we do get to attack first in this battle, so that's an exemption to the rule. It does 3 damage normally and has 6 health. I think this is going to be the end of us. You know, this is probably the prime time to use a flintlock pistol, because I just don't think we can survive this. I'm going to shoot the pistol and just get this thing out of here. We don't gain any reward. We're just going to toss it and survive. So now that it's nighttime, I'm going to gain 5 opportunity at twilight. I'm going to use a campfire and decrease hypothermia by 1 level. I'm going to lose 1 point for 1 point of health for the hypothermia being at the -1, and renew my checks. We're going to clear this dreaded area full of skeleton crews and snakes and move on.